Good thing is we're all here in the right place, right? For culinary medicine. Thank you for joining us today. Let's see, I'm just going to switch to the next slide here also so you guys can see some of these icons that you might be working to find. So the camera on and off, you can see there's one of those. We just ask that everybody have their camera off just so that we can highlight and not get distracted. We want the focus to be on Chef Alyssa, so that's why we have her two cameras on there. There's also a microphone button, so we do ask that everybody just stay muted during our time together today to minimize any background noises. Of course, if we call on you, you can raise your hand or you can put in the chat, and then we'll have you unmute only at that time.
Just so you know, if you see me muting you, I'm just trying to help you out. But if you guys don't feel that it's just so we can get that going now. And John, if you can keep trying on your side, I'd love it too. Thanks.
And then hopefully everybody can see there's a chat icon. It looks like a little word bubble, like Allison was saying. Just go ahead and warm your fingers up. This is where we're going to be interacting most of the time. Again, just because it's going to be easier. We don't want everybody unmuting and we're all talking over each other. We got a wonderful large group and we want to be able to, answer all of your individual questions as we go along, and we will pause and make time for that also. I think we covered all the housekeeping stuff. And I do see Doris, welcome. I
Thank
see
you.
you coming in. Yeah. So I was just going over some of the housekeeping that we are going to ask folks to keep their microphones muted and their cameras off for the class portion so that we can focus on Chef Alyssa's video. But great. Thank you. Okay. Then let's jump in because I know we got a lot of cooking to do today. I want to take a moment and just introduce who we are. So first we have our amazing Chef Alyssa Moreau. She's a personal chef with over 25 years of experience. We're very lucky to have her with us. And she loves to combine good flavor with good nutrition. We're excited to have her here. And then we have Allison. She's over on the Big Island, and she's one of our wellness coaches. And then we have myself. I'm on the island of Maui, and I'm also a wellness coach. So together we're all here. We also have John there from Oahu. So I think we're well represented across the islands, right? Here is a support team for you. So we're excited you're here with us today. We're really hoping we can spark your interest and your curiosity to just learn more about whole food plant-based eating and ultimately have more confidence in being able to prepare these types of meals. Now, you might be asking yourself, right, what's so special about this whole food plant-based diet? Why should I even do this or consider it? Well, in addition to cutting your carbon footprint in about half, it's also the only diet shown to prevent and reverse chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes and coronary artery disease. And you heard that right. That's a pretty powerful statement. Let that sink in, right? Prevent and reverse disease. We all want that, right? We want to prevent and reverse disease. So that's a big deal. So what is this magical diet we're talking about? Well, whole food plant-based diet really celebrates food in its most natural form. That means the closest to the way that it was grown, or in other words, the way that maybe our ancestors would recognize that as being food. So that's going to include fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, which are beans, nuts, and seeds. And we're really going to be minimizing the intake of processed foods, refined sugars, white flour, and animal-derived foods. Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, that's all well and nice, but that's a little daunting. How do I, change all these eating behaviors I've had my whole life? So that's why we have this saying on the screen here: eat food, not too much, and mostly plants, to hopefully simplify that. These words were written by Michael Pollan. He's an American author and a journalist. He's written lots of books about food and health, and he's the one that coined this popular phrase that you might see. Now, most of us know that vegetables are good for us, yet we're not all eating them. And that major barrier, again, has been that a lot of times those foods have not been seen as being very delicious. They're often kind of portrayed as a chore to eat. So we hope to shift this mindset and really open you up to a new way of experiencing healthy food. As part of this empowerment, we're also going to put a link in the chat. And that goes to a video series that Stanford School of Medicine put together in 2016 called Food and Health. We really encourage you to check this out. It's a series of 17 videos. They range in length from about 3 to 5 minutes, so it doesn't take too much time. And each one gives you really practical skills and important information on why and how we can eat healthier. And I see Allison put that in the chat there. Thank you, Allison.
And just to add in, they're little
Mm-hmm.
short videos. They're really great. So
Yeah,
they don't take much time at all. So we encourage you to look
absolutely.
at it. And maybe if we have time at the end, we'll show one. We'll just see
And
how it goes from the questions.
yeah, absolutely. I also want to draw attention to this handout that was included in your link with the class today, and this is what we call the healthy plate. Some of you might be familiar with this. What used to be the food diagram from decades past has now transitioned into a plate based on current research and health data. So the healthy plate, as you can see, is divided into these three parts, where really the vegetables are becoming the star of the show instead of being on the side. You'll also notice that meat is not really included as one of the food groups, and instead it says protein. And that means that we can include plant-based protein. Plant-based proteins are beans, lentils, tofu, to name a few. And those are really the ingredients we're going to be focusing on in these classes. The main takeaway from this is really to make your plate look colorful. If you have a lot of color on your plate, you know you're moving in the right direction. If you want to learn more specifically about the healthy plate concept, we have a separate 90-minute virtual class taught by our registered dietitians, and that class is called Get Your Plate in Shape. And I'll share more about our classes at the end today, but it will explore different variations of eating styles in that similar format. And before we get into the cooking, I'm going to pull up the recipe that Chef will be preparing today so she can briefly review those ingredients with us. As a reminder, your invite to the class also included links to download the recipes that she's cooking today for yourself. So if you have any questions, if you need those recipes again, we'll be happy to pull it up at the end of class. I also want to take just a moment to acknowledge that there might be a range of people attending tonight. For some of you, it might be your first time hearing the words plant-based, right? And you're just thinking, how do I get more vegetables in my plate? And for some of you, you may have had some more experience with this and you're really trying to fully eat plant-based. So this class is really about supporting you with resources in whatever direction that you choose. The recipes that Chef is sharing, they're adaptable to your personal tastes and preferences. If you have questions as we go along, again, put those into the chat. We're going to give our chef the opportunity to answer those questions and she can address any substitutions if needed. So congratulate yourself for Oop, sorry, I
There
was
you are.
muted.
Mom, what do you do? I'm like,
Somebody
is it
muted me.
me? I'm like, no, no me.
Yeah. So anyway, the first recipe she's going to be doing is this chickpea save the tuna salad. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you to review the ingredients, and then I'll take the PowerPoint down. Oh, I think you're muted now,
Yeah,
Alyssa.
and also just to let you guys know, if you didn't see the PowerPoint in the center, don't get too worried about it. Chef Alyssa's gonna go over it, and most of our class, we're gonna be really focused on her cooking.
Okay, go ahead,
All right,
Alyssa.
Okay.
there
All right.
you
Yeah.
are.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, we can.
So, chickpeas are also known as garbanzo beans. So you might think of them, either way, based on how you're grown up. And uh, so that's what you're looking for in the store, are garbanzo beans. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make kind of the same flavoring of tuna salad. So we're going to add celery and carrots and onions and relish and mustard and a vegan mayonnaise and then salt and pepper. And we're just going to mix it up. So that's what we're going to be making first.
Okay. Then I will go ahead and take this recipe down. And again, there was a
Okay.
link to this recipe in your email. for the link with the class. Otherwise, we can also bring it up later. And while I'm bringing this down and we're kind of spotlighting the chef, I will say this, you guys, has to be one of my favorite recipes of all time. It's like on my weekly go-to for lunches during the week. It saves well in the fridge. Just walk upstairs, put it on a piece of Ezekiel bread or something, a cracker, whatever you want, lettuce wrap, and it's fantastic. I know this will be a favorite.
Alyssa, we might have you look at your do you see it? I just see an A, so I want to make sure your video is on. I think we got a little Minihune running around trying to keep us on our toes here tonight.
Yeah. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
I did not touch a thing.
Okay. If anything, as she brings it, if she's getting that back on, we could always put the PowerPoint and go over the next recipe if she has to log that one off and on again to get it back up.
Yep.
Let's see, there we
There we
go.
go.
But there it
Okay.
is. Gorgeous. Thanks.
Okay. Wow, that is interesting, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, I'm just checking if it's still charging. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There
Here
we are.
go. Are we ready to rock and roll? Okay.
We
We
are.
are
So,
ready.
okay. In the recipe, it talks about getting a can of chickpeas. You rinse and drain it, and then you can mash it with like a potato masher, like I have right here. Or there's, different kinds of potato mashers, a big fork, or you can put it in a food processor and cross it so it's kind of chunky. So that's what I did before the class. I don't know if you can kind of see. Again, this is subjective. You can make it really fine, or you can add chunk just for, make it kind of chunky for the texture. So I already processed it. I drained it. I rinsed it, dried it, well, so there's not too wet. And I'm going to put it in the bowl. Alternately, you would take your drained and rinsed chickpeas, you'd put it in the bowl, and you would mash it with your fork or potato masher and do it that way till you get the texture you like. Okay. And this is really a nice, simple recipe. You basically just add everything to it and just keep going. So I have celery and carrots, same amount. I'm going to put these in.
And it looks like they're diced pretty small. Yep. They're diced really small.
Yeah, I grated the carrots.
Okay.
And I chopped the celery kind of small. Again, it can be kind of what you like. I actually, years ago, I cooked for a woman and she didn't, this is also a recipe that's really good to eat with like veggie sticks, like carrots and celery sticks and cucumber slices. She actually wanted me to make the vegetable so big, it was almost like having the the slices in the dip. So you can really do it however you want, but yeah, this is kind of small. I would say this is larger than a dice, smaller than a chop. So I've got the carrots and celery. I have some onions, which I cut a little bit, I'd say more on the mint side. Sorry, that contrast isn't that great. And then what I do with onions, because I'm not a big fan personally of raw onion, kind of that bite, I take the onions and I rinse it with water. So you can either soak it in, like cover this with water and then drain it with a fine mesh strainer and then put it in. And then I'll just cut a little bit of the bite of the raw onion. You can use red onion too. Either one will work well. Red onion has a nice bit of color. And then you can add relish, if that's in the recipe. Now relish can be kind of wet. Actually, I see this one still kind of, I'm going to get a fork, hold on. Similarly, you want to kind of drain the liquid out. Depends upon the brand of relish you buy. And then what I do, just because I happen to have both in my house, I do a mixture of dill and sweet. You can do, my upbringing is any potato salad or tuna salad or egg salad was, if there was relish, it was sweet relish. So I am more of a side on sweet just from growing up. But a lot of people that I cook for like dill. So I'm doing half. And then along that lines, you can choose your mustard. I grew up with yellow mustard. A lot of people like Dijon mustard in this. So you can do whatever you desire for your mustard. I didn't mention when I was going over the recipe, but I have some chopped parsley. And I tend to like to get the flat leaf parsley because I find it's easier to cut instead of the curly parsley. It's just a preference of mine. Again, you can do whatever you like there. And then I have some salt and pepper. Do that to taste. And I have here half a teaspoon salt, 1/4 a teaspoon black pepper. And then I have veganese. So if you're not familiar with veganese, it is an egg-free mayonnaise. And there's a lot of different types of veganase. I'll go get one and show you the bottle that I have. This one that I bought was grapeseed. It depends upon the oil that they use. And then based on the oil that they use is, see, this is Follow Your Heart grapeseed veganase. There's one with a blue lid that's made with canola. There's now one made with avocado oil with a pale green lid. There's one with safflower oil. There's one with soy oil. I don't know if they still make the soy oil one. So you can, they all pretty much taste the same.
I was just going to ask you that.
Oil.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think really, well, maybe it's just because I grew up with Best Foods. The blue lid one, the original one, to me tastes the closest to Best Foods. There's a little slight flavor difference.
And you know,
So
Best Foods makes one now. Best Foods makes their own veganase now.
I will check it out. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. I find that the one that is the safflower, they have like one that's a lower oil that tends to separate and gets more watery. Yeah, it's really just something. Maybe start with, you know, and then it's price. They all are various prices too. This one's a little more expensive. So, and the avocado one is more expensive. Okay, so then what you do is you basically just mix it together, and you can taste test to see if you want more relish, a little more mayonnaise or mustard. And I have to say too, this is one of my favorites. It just tastes so good. Yeah, I like it with like lettuce cups or cucumber slices. It's really good like in pita bread. You got a good soft pita bread. Yeah, whatever you like. It just kind of fills the pukas when you're kind of hungry in the middle at any time in the afternoon, or just take it as a snack. You can build a whole salad around it and just have this in the middle. And so that's what I did. I just mixed it all together. And then I have a little bowl with some arugula slices just to give you a little visual.
It's amazing how quickly that can come together. And it's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And it's wonderful. You can double it too. Goes a long way. Yeah. All right.
That's a good idea to double it, and then you've got even more for lunches, or you know, you can even portion it out into some containers in the fridge.
Take it to a party if you're doing something.
Yeah.
You know, like a little poo-poo with all the veggie slices around it. Yeah, this is always a winner.
Yeah. Oh, we had one question, Chef. So Aaron's asking, what does veganase have in place of eggs?
I'll read you the ingredients. So this says grapeseed oil, water, brown rice syrup, apple cider vinegar, soy protein. So maybe it's that, sea salt, mustard flour, lemon juice. That's it. Interesting, huh?
The good thing is they're all ingredients we can pronounce.
Yes, and maybe it's in the emulsification of it, right?
Yeah.
With the mustard and the flour.
And the oil. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the mustard flour, right, is an emulsifier. At least I've read that before with salad dressings, is to add a little like dry mustard, and it helps emulsify. But maybe the soy protein too. I don't know. Good question.
Yeah. Other
All
questions, you
right.
guys, about this
Just,
recipe?
chat them in if you have any questions.
Yeah.
And
If you
it's so
want,
funny. I never, I was always the one who didn't like tuna fish from the can. But I always loved like that, love all the texture. I'm like, I can try this because it'll just, I don't know. It's all, isn't it funny how we just have our mindset? And then that's the whole joy. That's why we're all here. How can we
yeah.
try something different and see what it's like?
Hmm.
So how long does it keep in the
Yeah.
refrigerator? That's the next question for you, chef.
Oh gosh. It tends to go pretty fast. I mean, but I would say 5 days, uh, maybe a week at the most. Generally, kind of how I am with beans. I
Hmm.
don't,
Yeah,
I
I'd
don't
say about
go
three
more
to
than a
four. Yeah, in my
week.
experience.
You say 3 to 4? Yeah. I mean,
When it's
I've
still
had,
good, best. Yeah.
yeah, I've had people that I cook for and on a weekly basis, and I'll come back the next week sometimes, and they're still. I'm like, wow, I wouldn't think to. It's interesting how long.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they meant the question over there when it says on the date on the jar. I think they're talking about our recipe now, not the veganese for RG. That I assume that's what you were
There
thinking.
should
Yeah.
be a date. Do you
Yeah,
have a
that's
good?
Oh, you're talking about the
no, no,
veganese?
no. I think he was
Oh,
answering
okay.
the question. I just wanted to say I think it was the for the recipe we were talking about how many days can you keep that in the refrigerator? And then there was another question for
Okay.
you. Do you have a good and healthy
Hmm.
no oil recipe for the mayonnaise?
Good question. I do have one like a tofu based mayonnaise. So I could type that up and post it or send it
Hmm.
your way. You can also do it with cashew based tofu, which would be a recipe too, if you're using nuts. It depends upon what you're doing. You could also use like just mashed avocado if you want something for a binder. Of course, it will taste different, but still tastes good.
That actually sounds really good.
Okay,
Okay,
so what I'm
so
going to do is I'm just going to start hmm, bringing the ingredients out for the chili.
oh yeah, let me
Well,
pull the PowerPoint back up so we can review the recipe together.
okay. And we can talk about beans. There's so many interesting things to say about beans.
Great.
Mm.
All right, Heather, we see the PowerPoint. For me, it's still
Yeah,
on the case for cooking, but
yeah, it's
yeah,
not letting me like. Let me try this.
if not, she
There we
can
go.
always,
There,
there
do you
we
see it?
go. Yep, got
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Perfect. So whenever you're all set up, Chef will have you go over the recipe. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I am almost there.
It's making me hungry. Now, look, talk about beautiful color, right? Looking
Mm.
down at this, like I was looking at my plate,
Yeah.
I
I
can almost
know.
picture all the color I'm going to see looking right back at me.
Yeah. So usually, okay. Just gonna drizzle a little here because I didn't have any in it.
Yeah,
Olive
chili is
oil.
such a popular dish for most of us, right? We all make a chili.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this one's really good.
Okay.
That's a staple for
Yeah.
me.
Mhm. So this recipe is a vegetarian chili where we are going to actually freeze tofu and then you defrost it and get all the liquid out, you squeeze it out, and then that's kind of like your changes the texture of the tofu. So it's like a beef substitute or a meat substitute or ground beef substitute. Um, there's a lot of different variations of what you could do, or you can just not do anything, just have beans. But that's one of the kind of different things with this chili recipe. So we've got all kinds of vegetables. We're going to saute with onions. We're going to add in the rest of the vegetables. We have spices. We have chili and cumin and oregano we're using today. I just saw a recipe that used smoked paprika. So if you wanted to add an added dimension, you could add smoked paprika to this. Then there's beans we're going to add, and you've got a choice of what kind of beans you want. Today we're going to be using kidney and black beans. And then we have tomato sauce, and we have cilantro. We have fire roasted crushed tomatoes we're going to add. And then we're just going to let it simmer and have all the flavors just meld. We're going to top it with a little fresh lime juice at the end, a little more cilantro, and then taste it. And if it's a little tart, with all the lime, the tomato, you can just do a little bit of sweetener to balance it. So I've got some agave on the side. It could be just a spoonful of sugar, little maple syrup, something just to balance. But that's up to you. Kind of taste it and see what you want to do at the end. So that's what we're going to do.
And
Can
I
we
do.
add? Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
yes. Oh, somebody had brought up about there's a little bit of a duplication on the recipe, that it shows the frozen tofu repeated 2 times. So just ignore one of those. It's just the 1 cup of frozen tofu, right?
Yeah. Yes, the 1 cup of frozen tofu.
Yeah. And then we'll add the lime,
Okay.
the lime juice and the
Yes.
cilantro I mentioned in the directions, but they're not listed in the ingredients. So thank you for noticing that, you guys. We'll make that adjustment.
And then we did have
We
one
will
more
make the
question
adjustment.
before we
Thank
get
you.
started. Can you use a
Mhm.
tofu press instead of freezing the tofu? Or is it really best to get that texture frozen and defrosted?
You can do either, but it really does make a different texture. It kind of gets chewy. It's interesting. So I think it's worth at least trying freezing tofu once to kind of see how you like it. And sometimes I freeze it and get all the liquid out, and then I'll pan fry it just with a little bit of like Bragg's and olive oil or tamari and olive oil, and it just absorbs the flavor. It gets kind of crunchy on the outside. It's actually kind of fun to work with.
And if you're freezing it, you don't have to press it first. You can just, you drain it and
No,
put it
you
in
don't.
the.
I drain it. And what I did was I had like a block of tofu, and then I just kind of sliced it with my knife inside the plastic container. I was going to freeze it, and then just kind of cut it into smaller cubes so that it would freeze quicker, have more surface area,
Mm.
and then it defrosts easier too at the end.
Okay, so in that version, there's no drain, no, besides taking it out of the bucket, chopping it, putting in the freezer. When you take it out, then you're ready to go. You don't have to drain it or press it.
Oh, well, I defrost it. So what I actually did today was I put it this morning in the freezer, and then I took it out about an hour or so ago, and I just let it defrost. And once it's defrosted, then I squished it with my hands and got all the liquid out, and this is what it looks like. So it's just like kind of like a crumbly, dry.
It looks great. It is amazing what
like
you can do, right? Same thing like with cauliflower, how you can rice it, and tofu. Now you can beef it. I should change the word, but it's great.
Good term.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet.
Okay, so I'm going to turn this on. Hopefully it will cooperate. I'm in, I'm plugged, I'm there. Yay. Turned on. Okay.
And this is the firm tofu you're getting, right? Does it matter? Firm, extra firm, super. And now they have super firm. I even see.
Yeah, I don't know if I do super firm, but probably firm or extra firm. Just amazed at how the price of tofu has changed recently. So I'm kind of hunting it down at different stores. At Safeway, I think it's almost $4 to $6 for a block of tofu. Usually it was $2 something.
Yeah, $2 or $3. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe Costco now.
But I think that's what's nice when you show what you can.
It's a great deal.
You can do with 1 block of tofu. It does make a lot, just like our tofu burgers. It does stretch out, but so that's a good thing.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is you could use avocado oil or some sort of light oil, or you can use olive oil. It's just really, you don't want to heat it too high with olive oil. You just kind of want to keep it at a saute level, which is always challenging with this heat surface. But sometimes when I'm going to be cooking, I know it's more high heat. I'll do a mixture of both. Okay, so we'll see. Let's see where we're going. Saute. And I'm going to add the onions. Which are a little bigger chop because I know I'm going to cook them. Sorry, I'm just going to touch. I know it gets hot fast. We're good. Get it going and then I'll turn it down. And then what I did was I cut up celery and bell peppers and mushrooms. It could be any kind of mushroom. I have button mushroom, a little bit of portobello, and then I have some minced garlic here. And we'll be adding that once our onions get cooked a little bit. And I wanted to talk a little bit about beans while the onions sauteing. I wanted to just say that, you could choose pinto beans, you could choose black beans, kidney beans. Sometimes there's cans of like 3 different kinds of beans, and that's kind of fun, or there's like chili beans that are already a little seasoned. You could add that. That one usually has a seasoned sauce it's in, so you could add in, not drain it, but that's something you could choose. When I use like half a can like this for today, I use half a can of the kidney beans and half a can of the black beans. And what I did was I put the rest in a Ziploc bag. It could be Ziploc, it could be a little Tupperware, and I put it in the freezer because this just freezes great. And then you can use it for something else, and it lasts like a month or two. It doesn't usually take that long, but it lasts a while in the freezer. So hopefully that'll let you know that there's lots of different things you can do, and you don't have to just use one bean if you don't want to. Okay, so I've got my onions cooking. And for the sake of the class, I'm just going to kind of move along here. I'm going to add in the rest of the vegetables, the garlic and the spices. I tend to, always be mindful of the garlic because burnt garlic just kind of tastes nasty. So if I'm going to do like for this, I'll add in the vegetables, then the spices. That started a little bit.
Okay, so now you've added all the vegetables, and you said that, and the garlic, yeah?
Not the garlic yet.
Not the garlic yet, just
So
the vegetables. Okay.
No, so
And the
I got
spices.
the vegetables, the rest, right? So the rest, that step says, the vegetables, the spices, the garlic, but I'm actually going to do the vegetables with the onions, adding the spices, and then I'll do the garlic so that it's not, the surface area is not like straight on the hot burner and start burning the garlic. Oh, that's going up my nose. Oh, the chili. Yum. Okay. Now I'll add the garlic. Safe. Sometimes if you're cooking, and if you don't want to do oil or you want to do minimal oil, you could add a little bit of water here. It starts to stick. And then that'll just keep the cooking surface, making everything from not burning. We'll keep cooking. Okay, and then what we're going to do next, after this gets a good mix in and heated through, we're going to add the beans, tofu, tomatoes. So I got the black and kidney.
Yeah, beans are a great source of protein also. About
Yeah.
1 cup has about 14
Mhm.
and a half grams of proteins and 16 grams of fiber. So that's a winner right there. Lots of fiber, lots of protein.
Mhm.
And it's fun, with beans and chili. I even have tried like the Northwestern and the cannelloni because I was trying to do the 3 different colors in there. I was gonna say, sometimes
Yeah,
when
yeah.
when I bought them all in one can, they kind of end up the hue of the red kidney bean, the other 3 ones. So,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it adds a little texture. Beans
Mhm.
are fantastic, and just I really encourage people to just try different ones. There's so many different beans, and they all have such great textures and flavors.
Yeah, and chili is such a natural place to
Yeah,
start
and
with
there's
beans too. Yeah.
mhm. Yes, it sure is. So I got the cilantro, the tofu. Now I'm adding in the fire roasted tomatoes. It could be just crushed tomatoes. It can be not fire roasted, but if you haven't tried fire roasted canned tomatoes, it really is adds a nice added little dimension of flavor. Okay, and then I've got a can of tomato sauce. This is the 15-ounce. Again, these are really, I always try and uh, find recipes that are not, not too hard.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A little bit of prep time.
Yeah,
Think
probably the
ahead about the
chopping
tofu.
piece, the chopping is what would probably take a
Mhm.
little bit more time, but
Mhm.
everything else
Mhm.
is, and it's not that much time because everything else you can pretty much just
No.
add in, yeah, from a can or what.
And
Mhm.
it really does, it
And
tastes
then
great at dinner and then it tastes great the next day and the
Lunch,
next, even
yep,
better,
makes a big
sitting in
batch.
that sauce.
It's worth it.
yeah.
Oh, I can almost smell it
So
from
this
here.
calls
Mm.
for a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt. So I did 3/4 just to be right in the middle. But again, it's to taste. You do have a good volume with this recipe. It makes a lot. So uh, it does freeze well though. So this is one recipe that you can uh, pop in the freezer, half of it, if you so desire, depending upon how big your family is. And then we just let that simmer. So really all we're doing is we're letting it simmer till the vegetables are cooked. The onions, uh, we've got zucchini, the bell pepper. For me, it would probably be just, the bell pepper would be the one, the amount of time it would take to cook that. So
Mhm.
it's not that long. And then
Chef,
you could,
oh, there was a question if the zucchini could be optional or could you swap out different vegetables if you have one that you
for
maybe
sure,
have a preference for? Yeah.
for sure. You can do anything you want. It's your whatever. Like this recipe is really good with corn. You can do corn in it. You like anything. Whatever you like. You could do more of something. You could add carrots. Uh, what was I going to say? I was going to say it'll come to me. But yeah, you don't have to use zucchini at all. That's fine. You could add jalapeno peppers. It's really fun. Oh, black olives. I like black olives in my chili. You can do black olives. Not that that's a vegetable, but just other things you can add into your chili. And then I would just do if you want just something to cut the tomato, just the bite of it. It's up to you. Some people really like real tomatoey things, but I just did just a drizzle, not much of agave. And then I will add the rest of the cilantro at the very end. You have little hints of bright green. And at this point, you can cover it and just let it simmer. If you want it a little more liquidy, you can add a little bit of water. And then if it's just for the cooking, and then if you want to then reduce it down, you can, increase the heat at the end to make it thicker.
And I think it's nice. It's kind of like how you
I'm
said you
going
could do
to.
different vegetables. You can like toppings. You can choose different
Hmm.
toppings. Some people like lime. Some people, nice little substitute instead of sour cream if you're trying to lighten up and you're not, you still have some dairy, you could use Greek yogurt. It's the same. That's the joy of this kind of
Hmm.
cooking is you have the ability to add things to your taste and to your, what you will like
Right.
to eat. Oh, there we go. Let's give it a little. It just wanted to take a minute.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
back.
it's saying low battery. It's not
Oh, it
charging
charge.
fully yet.
Ah,
But
yeah.
yeah. Um, and what's really nice too is adding just avocado slices at the end when you're serving it. That's really yummy. So yeah,
That
you can
sounds
play
delicious.
with,
Yeah.
and there's, if you're not into dairy, you could do like there's some pretty good almond yogurts out there. What's the one? Siggy's non-dairy yogurt is good. A lot of nice plain ones. Oh, Kite Hill, that's a nice one too, the plain yogurt. So there's all kinds of fun things you can do at the end with your chili.
Yeah. Well, and like Erin
I've
said too,
got.
it looks like a great way to use leftover veggies as well. So it's kind of a catch-all of whatever you might
Mm-hmm.
have that you want to use
Mm-hmm.
up and not waste in your
Right.
crisper drawer, and slice that up and put
Right.
it in there.
Yeah. 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 And it's just so fun, how with this recipe you were talking about changing up all the different kinds of beans, but beans, there's so many wonderful. It's almost like you can go for with different ethnic groups, the types of beans that you're using. I do a lot of like Mediterranean bean, white bean salads and soups, Tuscan bean soup. You can sub in, like you were talking about, the Great Northern beans. Navy beans are great in like pot pies and shepherd pies in the sauce, or it can be in the navy bean soup. It's really fun to be able to, the lentils you can do. Well, that's not a bean, but you can do all kinds of different variations with all the different canned, black-eyed peas. That's really, you can do a lot of fun things with that. So it's fun to just kind of expand out, and you can get the dried ones and soak them
That's what I was
and
gonna
cook them
say.
in an
Have you
instant
have you
pot.
soaked and pressured and done your own beans before?
Hmm.
How long of a
Yeah.
process
Oh,
is
I've
that?
done it a lot. Well, usually I soak it overnight and then I would pressure cook it. It's usually like a half an hour of pressure cooking. And pressure cooking is wonderful because you can get the beans to the softness that you like. A lot of times the can, you find, depending upon the different brands, they are firmer, or different
Yes.
sizes. But especially with chickpeas nowadays, some
Yes,
of
I
them can
noticed
be
that with the
really kind of
chickpeas. If I'm
hard.
gonna mash the
Yeah.
chickpeas, I have
Yeah.
like certain brands
Hmm.
that I can't remember right now that I
Brands.
know are
Yeah,
softer
I
and
can't
easier to mush
either.
than
Hmm.
other ones. So you're
Hmm.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Hmm. So I'm not quite sure. I should try doing some chickpeas soon. Soaking them and pressure cooking them. Just because it seems like the harvest. I don't know if it's part of the COVID thing or whatever, but it seems like the the supply is different than it used to be.
Great.
So pressure cooking is fun if you're instant. Yeah, if you're into like doing the whole instant pot thing, that's a great way to do it.
Well, we got
Let's
another. Yeah,
see.
do
Yeah,
you
go
want to
ahead,
go?
Allison.
That's right. Go ahead, Heather. I'll let you do the questions.
Oh, so somebody had said, do you guys have substitutions for Filipino dishes or Hawaiian dishes? I'm not sure if there was a specific dish
with,
in mind, Miley.
with beans.
Or
Is that
maybe
the
just in
question?
general.
There's all kinds of recipes out there, and depending upon the what we're substituting, whether it might not be in the bean category, but I was just looking at a cookbook. Jackfruit is a big thing for kind of like pulled pork. So there's all kinds of, and there's a lot of different vegetarian meat substitutions out there that are very interesting, that are even in the regular markets like Safeway and Foodland, a little bit of Times. But yeah, a lot of different various ground beef substitutes, but there's more and more of pork and fish. It's interesting what's out there if you want to go down that route. I don't know if that's answering your question, but the jackfruit is very interesting how they have it all shredded, looking like pulled pork.
Yeah, she put a specific soup, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it correctly, but sabao, S-A-B-A-O.
I'm not familiar with it. I have to look it up. Is it chicken or I don't.
Yeah,
I
Miley,
would
if you can
have
let
to
us
look
know
it up.
maybe what
I'm sorry.
ingredient in there that you were thinking you might substitute. Oh, that means soup.
Oh,
Sorry.
sabao means soup.
Soup. Yeah, a soup. Yeah, but if you have a specific
We're learning.
ingredient that you might want to swap out with something else, just type that in. We can get some ideas.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have a question. You can
So
cook it. Can it ever, like with chili, if you leave it on too long, like it cooks down and gets flavored, you just can throw in a little more water to make it a little more, or what, or just let it cook for a while? Like when you're cooking your chili, as I'm watching it
say it again.
steaming here, and you're
Hmm.
steaming up the chili,
Hmm.
I just remember making some chili and then I kind of forgot about it, and I got a lot of the liquid went down. Would you just add a little more water to bring it back up, or a little more tomato
I
sauce?
would.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would add more water.
Hmm.
And then it's kind of subjective too. Some people like things more wet and more dry, and
Yeah.
depending upon also how they're having it. So if like you're having it with cornbread or something, but if you're having it over rice, you might want a little more soupy. Uh,
Yeah,
Again,
I will
just
say
play with it. It's all
when I
versatile.
when I did make it dry, it was really good. It felt like almost a side dish with it something. So it was a different
Yeah.
texture. It was great. And that was just
Hmm.
because I forgot. But
Yeah.
as I was seeing you cook it, I'm like, well, I don't
Hmm.
think you forget. But thanks. Great tip.
Oh, I forget all the time. But I do for myself. I make a lot of like lentil stews. I like lentils, and so sometimes I'll do what you're talking about. I'll actually purposely cook off this all the liquid, so it's more of like a thick kind of a. I like that. So it's like you eat it with rice, kind of like how we had that barbecue lentil recipe. I'll do that, so it's not like soupy barbecue. I will, yeah, cook it off so it's nice and thick, and then just spoon that with the rice. Yeah, that's kind of fun. Make coleslaw. Yum. So it's all subjective. It's just, doing things to your taste, what you're used to, what, intrigues you. But just know that the whole thing about the flavor profile. This one has the chili and cumin and oregano, which are easy to find in the store. Paprika is really nice if you. Dr. Jun has brought it up before, and actually, I think the one that I have in the fridge right now is kind of spicy. There's paprika and then there's smoked paprika. Is that me? You can't hear me?
I think I was just going to say, Colette, you should probably log off and on because we can hear you. And then,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Um, so yeah. So just be mindful if you're going to get like smoked paprika or any kind of paprika, just check and see if it's hot, because if you're not used to a lot of hot food, it could really kind of blow you away when you if you add a teaspoon into a recipe. Uh, but smoked paprika adds a nice dimension too, kind of like the fire roasted tomatoes. There's a lot of things you can do to make dishes really flavorful, and change up the textures, and get and fill you up. Sometimes you think maybe it's because it's vegetarian it won't fill you up, but it does.
Oh, absolutely. It's full of fiber. That'll keep you full, keep your blood sugars stable.
Yeah, yeah,
One person was
yeah.
asking, would thickening with cornstarch be okay? I
I
find you
wouldn't
probably
think
won't
to
need
do
to thicken
that.
it. It's pretty thick, but
I Yeah, I don't think you're going to need to.
I think I
Basically,
laughed.
I would just.
No, go on.
No, I like I had mentioned earlier, I would, if you're thinking it's too soupy, I would just take the lid off, increase the heat, and then just cook off the liquid. Watch it, don't leave it, but just cook it down so that it's not as watery. Cook it to what you are desired as far as your texture. But I don't think you're going to need cornstarch. That would change things up quite a bit.
I
Sorry,
was
I
just
interrupted you.
no, you didn't. I was just laughing, Eric, because making this, and have a local husband, and I was making a tomato sauce. He's like, I think you need cornstarch. And I think it's just that's like the go-to. I'm like, no, I don't think so. So that's what made me laugh. So Eric, you're not alone in asking that
Oh,
question,
okay.
because I think it's something,
Yeah.
we do in so many sauces, but often not with chili or tomato
Mhm,
sauces. Don't need
mhm,
it so much. But
mhm,
yeah.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and see, it's starting to stick now to the bottom. So we're at that point. And I can't tell how long we've been cooking this, but I would think we've been cooking at least 10 minutes. So we can check, see when we can check
Yeah,
the
it's
zucchini
been
and the
probably about 10
bell
minutes,
pepper.
just about.
Yeah,
It really looks good.
oh. Yeah, that's yummy. So if you like hot food, you can also add, like I said, the jalapeno, but you can do a little dashes of hot sauce. I have a client that really likes the green Tabasco. Tabasco on it.
I have a
Whatever you like.
question.
Everyone's got
Yeah.
different tastes.
Now I know,
Mhm.
it never lasts in our house, but how does it freeze? Does it freeze well?
Freeze as well. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. This is a great dish to freeze.
Tofu. See, a lot of us don't
And it
know.
makes a lot. So,
That's great.
mhm. Depending upon how big your family is and the dynamics of your household. I mean, you could freeze it like in these little 2-cup portion containers, or glass. There I am again. And I'm plugged in.
Huh.
There we go. I know that's always the challenge with this.
Hey, we can
Mm,
see it. It looks
okay.
great. That's okay. We got
Okay.
it on the screen.
Okay. But yeah, any kind of container, Ziploc, plastic, glass. A lot of people like to use glass, but you can portion it out and then just have that frozen. You could take that to work, but make it work for you. How many people are in your household?
Fantastic. We're getting close. I'm going to give you a little warning with our time. We're about 9 minutes left of class.
Okay. What are we? Okay. All right. Well, I am gonna turn this off and top it with a little cilantro. It's hot.
And again, this is what's kind of fun with chili, right? Is having, you can, when
Mm-hmm.
you're at home or if you bring it somewhere and our neighbor has a lime tree and they always know when I'm making my 3-bean chili because I'm always walking across the street and stealing a bunch of limes. But they joke, they gave me a big bag for the holidays because I just tell them I need cilantro next. 'Cause
hmm And I love adding that little bit of acidity really brings out the flavor. I've noticed that. I never used to
Oh, that
put,
lime
yeah,
just.
I never used to put limes or
Mm-hmm.
lemons in different soups. And wow, did it really change the flavor profile
It
in a
just
positive
pops,
way?
doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, really good. So if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't tried it
Mm-hmm.
or feel a little scared of
And
putting citrus in there, I urge you to just give it a try one time.
yeah, and just do it at the end.
Yeah, at the
So
end.
it
Exactly.
doesn't
Yeah.
cook off.
Or even in your
Mm-hmm.
individual bowl if you're too scared to put it
Just
in the whole thing.
yeah, yeah. Just do a little wedge of lime on the side,
hmm
and then do it that way. Okay, so my hands are
Mhm.
limey and full of cilantro, but then this is just, a bowl of chili. There you go. And it's hot.
Fantastic. And I was
Okay.
just going to add how what you were saying, sometimes just like we said, if you're trying to change from sour cream and then you tried maybe Greek yogurt, it's the same as if you're trying to learn to, I like
Mm-hmm.
not have so much sodium or salt, trying things like lime or herbs
Mm-hmm.
or it really can give you so much
Right.
flavor and take away things that we just do
And
on autopilot. So, you know,
mm-hmm. And
Great point,
spices,
Allison.
spices are
hmm
amazing. What they, the flavor of all the different kinds of spices. You don't need you know, a lot of oil or, you know, spices just really, like you're saying, and the limes and lemons and
Mm-hmm.
all the fresh herbs. Yes, it's
Yep.
wonderful.
Yeah, I was cooking
Sorry, I'm
my
just making space.
my parents are visiting and I made a few dishes for my mom and she would eat them and she would smile and she'd just say, "It's like a ping pong in my brain," because it was hitting so many different sensory points of flavor because it's multidimensional versus just kind of being
That
flat.
is
So
great.
it's kind of funny every time she'd take a bite. Ooh, this is really interesting. So, yeah, it can be
Oh,
delicious, you guys.
I love
Yeah.
that ping pong.
Yeah, she's like, "It's just boinking around."
Mhm.
Other questions, you guys? Anything you want to be able to ask Chef? Now's your chance.
I can also add that I have, you know, in regards to cooking dried beans, I have actually soaked beans and not been able to cook them. And I have frozen the soaked beans and then defrosted them to cook them at another time. So that's just something, if that ever comes up, you run out of time, you can you can do that too. You can do it in steps.
That is great because, we often it's the same thing. We get scared of, if you grew up just having them out of a can, right? Which is there's nothing wrong with that. I love it, like
Mm-hmm.
having your beans, but I was always a little
Mm-hmm.
fearful to
Mm-hmm.
try to make them from dry because I just wasn't sure. So, yeah, that's the joy of culinary medicine, of us trying things out is going, you can do it. Don't be worried, you know. I like
And
the idea of the
and
steps.
it's
That just
cost
helped me.
effective. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you know, dried beans tend to cost a little bit less, so you can make a big batch and then use what you want, and then again freeze it, kind of like how I was saying you freeze the excess canned beans. You just pop it out and have it in portion size in the freezer and grab it when you need it. It's wonderful.
Yep. Very good. Well, all great ideas. And I want to close out today by just sharing a few more resources with you folks. We'll be here. If you have any questions, feel free to, again, keep them in the chat. We will round back to them before we sign off today. I hope that you'll join us for our next culinary medicine class. Will be on February 27th, 5 to 6 p.m. Chef will be cooking with lentils. So that is going to be a fun one, couple recipes. So to reserve your spot, you do need to call each time. So 808-432-2260. Allison put it in the chat there. We hope you'll join us for that. If you were inspired today by the cooking class, then maybe you want to also partner with a wellness coach in helping to implement making some of these changes. So adding a little bit of extra accountability, some extra support. This is a free service for Kaiser members. The sessions are all done over the telephone. You can talk to your coach, about 15 to 20 minutes usually, maybe once a week, once a month, whatever frequency that works best for you. And they're going to work with you on creating really actionable steps with that accountability and support to keep you moving forward. So it doesn't just become, oh, that was a nice class and it's in our head, right? We want to move it from there and into that action and start implementing it. So we hope you'll check that out. And in addition to that, we have a lot of other wellness classes available. If you want to learn more specifically about plant-based eating style and what those health benefits are, we encourage you to check out a class called Viva Veggies. It's a two-part class series. It's taught by a registered dietitian. It's a wealth of information to really get into, hey, how is this going to benefit me physically in terms of my health at the same time? We also have classes focused on specific health conditions such as prediabetes, diabetes, or even heart health. So just lots of resources available to you guys. You can access this. Actually, I'm going to put it in the chat here. There's a link to always access the most up-to-date class flyer. This one is for February. I know it can be a little small on the screen, but to register, you can call that same telephone number. Several of them, you can also go on kp.org, sign into your kp.org portal, and go under the appointments tab and select nutrition classes, and it'll bring up the classes you can register for online. So I put that link in there so you can access that class flyer. And with that, we will kind of close out and answer any, parting words, any last minute questions, and then let you guys get back to hopefully cooking and eating your dinner.
And a big thanks to Chef Alyssa. You really
Yeah,
always make things look
Thank you.
doable, delicious, and I'm always
Aw,
feeling ready to try your recipes. So thanks for your time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
thank you.
And
Yeah.
thank you all for joining us. We really am glad that you're investing in your own health and hopefully your friends and family by being here, and that we hope we gave you a little inspiration to go have some happy cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any other questions? You're welcome, everybody. Thank you for
Hmm.
coming.
Have a
We hope to
great
see you
night.
next month.
Yep.
And yeah, you'll be able to chat into us that you tried these recipes. Maybe that's your goal. Between
Right?
now and 1 month, you try both of the recipes and report back to us next class. What did you think? And
Here, you have to take
try,
the PowerPoint down now so we can just have Alyssa's chili as
sure,
our
you can do
goodbye.
that.
Have that center. That's what I want to leave with the visual before her camera goes away.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Before a camera gets hungry and says, I'm done.
Yeah, it says time to go eat.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Good. That's great. Good. Go enjoy your cooking and have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you say you have to register for each class? My understanding was you registered for the series.
Well, if you called and asked to be registered for all of them, if you were in Halt, that might have been done for you. I don't know if John's on here, if you're in one of our programs, but if not, some people are just joining for the first one. You can always call and just say, "Hey, can you put me in all the classes?" Um, but you can also get a flyer. Are you in one of our class series?
Actually, I took I tried the chair yoga thing with on the sore. And that's how I
Hmm.
got the message about these classes.
Oh, great.
And he listed all the classes for the year,
Great.
and I asked him whether we would be reminded. And he said, yeah, a message would be sent out for the link each time. So I assume that I was registered for the whole series.
Mm.
I bet
Oh,
he did it for
yeah,
you.
for yeah, so for Colette, I registered for the whole series.
All
Yeah,
right,
so every month
John.
you'll get the
Great.
email.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, John.
Yeah. Great question. Any other questions?
No, it was.
I know. Alyssa, we all want to come for everyone. Heather and I could probably alternate, but we never want to because this is the favorite thing. I'm all, no, I need to learn something and I'm ready to try. I've never done this with the
Yeah.
tofu, so I'm excited to try
I need to
doing that
try
with the
that too. I
Ah,
yeah, the
haven't.
frozen.
okay.
That's my new
Yep.
tip. So I'm
Mm,
excited to do that.
okay.
Um,
Thank you. You can give me feedback at the next class.
Yeah. No, she's going to hold us accountable, Allison.
I
Yeah.
know. I
We have to
like
try the
it.
freezing of the tofu.
Hey, keep us in action. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the key. So
Mhm.
great. I don't know if John, if you're still on, if you see Margot's, if not Margot, you can always call that phone number and register. Just remind us tomorrow. I can put the phone number one more time. Oh, there. Oh, you're so fast, Heather. You have to type
Lightning fast.
everything.
Yeah.
You are. All right, you guys have a
Mm,
great evening. We want to honor your time. We want to honor yours, especially Alyssa. I know you've been busy. Dr. Jen, I don't know if you're
Thank you.
still on. Thank you so much for always being our champion in the lifestyle medicine department. And Heather, thanks for class. Have a great night.
yeah.
And
Good night,
John, you
everybody.
too. How can I forget John? Thanks, John, for keeping us all together
Thank you,
here.
John. Thank you
Sure,
very
Oh, thanks,
much.
John,
you're
for that
welcome.
Thank you.
clarification.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Perfect.
If you're enrolled in our HALT program, you're already registered for the series, so no need to do
Perfect.
anything. Yeah.
Yep. Great. Have a great night. Thanks for the question. And I'm going to laugh as I go and tell my husband, you don't need that cornstarch. I got backup. Because he always thinks
Cornstarch.
it's
No.
just me. That's why I laugh
Right.
so hard because I'm like, no, you don't have to put it
Yeah,
in the
that's good.
chili. So
Uh,
I got it from the chef's mouth. So Eric, I don't know if he left already. Thanks
uh,
for that you helped me out.
Well,
Too
just a
funny.
testament to kind of how we're used to doing things, right? Our
Yeah,
standbys
Mhm.
and those
Yeah.
habits, right?
Yeah.
yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, good night, you guys. Take care.
Okay.
Bye
Night. Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye.